John Walker is the best character that the MCU has introduced post-Endgame. Many questions arose at the conclusion of the Infinity Saga as to who would replace the pillars of the franchise that have now retired. Many attempts were made. Whether it be a girl version of a character that already existed, Captain Marvel, or the most diverse team that Marvel created so the whole world could see themselves. Well, none of this really worked. It's thus ironic that a side character on a Disney Plus show, who Marvel introduced to illustrate the folly of selecting such a man to be Captain America, and to demonstrate why Sam should take up the mantle, became a favorite. Not only surpassing Sam Wilson, but post-Thunderbolts is quickly becoming many fans' favorite character, a man who, despite all the problems, all the obstacles, all the needless insults, no matter how low he's pushed down, stands back up to do the right thing. When Steve gave the shield to Sam, there were some mixed feelings. For one, Bucky seemed to be the more prominent character who was at the center of multiple films within the MCU. He was a super soldier and Captain America's best friend. Sam not only did not have superpowers, his aerial dogfighting did not lend well to the shield compared to a grounded fighter. However, there were things working in his favor. He was a veteran, helped other veterans to deal with their PTSD, participated in high-stakes battle as an Avenger multiple times, knew Steve personally, and could draw on his experience to make informed decisions. He had no baggage compared to the Winter Soldier. All of this also happened in the comics, so it was not a decision pulled from nowhere. Then, this dog shit show was released, and any interest or prospect Sam had as Captain America died with the show and its god-awful writing, while simultaneously elevating John Walker inadvertently when the writers were trying their best to push him down. And with the release of Thunderbolts, many are now going back and realizing for a character who so ruthlessly mocked and criticized, John really didn't do anything wrong. This video is not an analysis of the show. For that, I would suggest my previous video. This video will discuss the characterization of John Walker in Falcon and the Winter Soldier and in Thunderbolts, addressing some counter-arguments as well, but there will be some overlap between these two videos. The easiest way to analyze the character and the events in the show is to just go chronologically. When Sam retires the shield and gives it up, the US government decides that they do indeed want a Captain America. For this, they choose John Walker, an Army Ranger with 3 Medals of Honor who has multiple combat tours under his belt. This is an insane backstory. No United States soldier has received more than 2. It's important to know just how impressive Walker is. And it goes beyond the accolades. He had a level of understanding and commitment. He understood the huge shoes he had to fill, nervous about the situation, but with support from his best friend and fiancé, decided to move forward.
Intelligence.
Look, here's the thing. I'm not Tony Stark. I'm not Dr. Banner. Okay, I don't have the flashiest gadgets. I don't have super strength. But what I do have is guts. Something Captain America always had, always needs to have, and I'm gonna need every ounce of it because I got big shoes to fill. I liked that what I was doing would make people feel safe. Steve Rogers was the kind of guy who could do that. He gave me hope.
In his first actions as Captain America, John Walker helped Sam and Bucky. When the Flag Smashers were pushing Sam and Bucky shit in, it was John and Lamar who came to their aid. And what's the thanks that these two get for their efforts? Nothing. In fact, not only is there no gratitude, they dismiss John. They swat away any chance of cooperation.
It'd be a whole lot easier if I had Cap's wingmen on my side.
It's always that last line.
You lose someone?
My wingman, Riley.
Oh, well, fuck me. Now, I can understand an initial animosity given that the United States government went against Sam's wishes of retiring the shield. But this didn't just happen once. Again, John extends his hand, and Sam and Bucky swatted away while being douchebags for no reason. Keep in mind that John actually gets Bucky out of jail here. Only after this happening again does John decide to go his own way, when he is rebuffed for the second time. And we're supposed to take away that John is the asshole here? What? But the implications go beyond this. Even if Sam and Bucky still don't like John personally for possessing the title, you think that these two would be mature enough to push that aside and work together to stop the larger threat. Surely if they worked together, the results would be faster and some of the harm that came afterwards could have been prevented. Keep in mind how obsessed Sam and Bucky are with the shield in this show.
Look, if we divide ourselves, we don't stand a chance. You guys know that.
Eventually, the Flag Smashers decide to blow up some innocent people. Up to this point, we know that the Flag Smashers are willing to die. Additionally, they're super soldiers, meaning they're extremely dangerous. The tension and stakes have increased rapidly. This is no longer a group of thieves, It's a group of terrorists. After Sam and Bucky break Zemo out, go on their side quest in Madripoor, everyone converges on the country of Latvia. It's here that for no reason, the Dormelage attempt to kill John Walker for no reason. No, literally, they have no reason. What's funny is that a lot of people took the Wakandan side in this fight. Wakanda forever, I guess.
We put the shield down, and before we could engage with whatever that was going to be, you saw where his head was, right, guys? It was around about here. And then he realizes someone across the room has appeared with a spear, and so he quickly moves back before the spear would have taken his fucking head off. Now, what the hell?
You don't know anything that's going on, lady. You just nearly killed a guy.
And look at Walker's face. That is the audience. Like, what? Why
I'm
did
like,
you...
what the fuck? Why are you insane? The kind of international incident that this alone will cause.
Hey, Wakandans just killed Captain America while he was on mission.
An agent of Wakandan royalty attempted to murder Captain America while on foreign soil. Like, are you fucking
While he
nuts?
was trying to apprehend Zemo, who bombed the UN.
The Dormelage escalate the situation dramatically and initiate with hostile intentions from the get-go without even knowing the situation. They try to kill him off the bat, what the fuck? And later on, when John has no defense, attempt to kill him, which is only stopped by Bucky, who was moments before laughing at him.
Walker, and she's got the spear pointed at him and he's not attacking her anymore, and she reels back to stab him through the face. And the only reason that she can't kill him is because Bucky stops her at the last minute. And it's just funny how later on in the scene, she's like, oh, fuck you, Bucky, not letting me kill this guy who did nothing wrong.
Well, this happens really quick, and I think a lot of people might miss it. This is a shot of one of the Dora Milaje about to execute Lamar. She's about to do it.
And then Falcon, Sam stops him too.
But yeah, just stopped just in time.
After getting assaulted and nearly killed by the Dormelage for the grievous crime of putting his hand on their shoulder, the pressure and responsibilities start to mount. John contemplates taking the serum in a conversation with Lamar, but the reason he takes it, as stated explicitly, is so that he can help save more people. If he was able to stop the Flag Smashers quicker, maybe more people would not have died. John is later vindicated for this. Moving forward, the Flag Smashers set up a plan to kill John Walker. Now this is important. This ambush was set up with the express goal to kill John. This is why Carly lured Sam away. In the ambush, Lamar is kidnapped to further lure John. With the ambush in full swing, this man grabs John to restrain him so that Carly can stab him, delivering the final blow. Lamar, like an absolute bro, comes in with the clutch save to stop the assassination. For this, Carly kills him. This entire scene doesn't make a lot of sense. After this happens, the action just stops, which is odd. The Flag Smashers know that John had a partner. Additionally, they've already killed innocent people to send a message. Why would you not continue to fight to kill John? Whatever. After all the Flag Smashers scatter to avoid culpability, John is successfully able to chase down the same terrorist who tried to kill him. As he continues to stop the terrorist who attempts to get up multiple times, he establishes control, and as the man begs saying that it, quote, wasn't me, John kills him. This is straightforward. But no, this was actually the wanton killing of an innocent man by a power-hungry cop on foreign soil. John Walker is wholly unfit for the title and no longer deserves to hold the shield. You can tell because they put blood on the shield with ominous music. None of these arguments hold any weight. The first argument is that this man was innocent.
I'm hoping that most of y'all just forgot Falcon and the Winter Soldier because the show is clear to frame John Walker as a villain. He executed a desperate refugee who was begging for his life in a public square with the symbol of America.
Also, he didn't do anything. He didn't kill Lamar. Carly did. This guy was in Carly's crew, but it's made very explicit that Carly, in killing Lamar, was acting outside the Flag Smashers' established plans and parameters. This isn't on Nico, and if you seriously try to argue otherwise, that's a pretty big L.
You went full retard, man. Never go full retard.
At this point, we're literally not following the plot. This man continued to participate in the organization after they already committed a terrorist attack, meaning that he was okay with killing innocent people and still continued to participate and support the group. After this, he attempted to murder John, which failed and led to the killing of Lamar. If he was not grabbing John to kill him, it would not have been necessary for Lamar to step in. The show attempts to make them sympathetic by showing you their plight and how they are fighting for supplies, but when you go out of your way to kill people to send a message, you lose any moral high ground. If it was essential that the terrorists remain somewhat sympathetic, I would have constructed the scene differently. Instead of tying people up and then blowing said people up after the fact, I would have the Flag Smashers conduct another raid like usual. While they're stealing supplies, a brave security guard attempts to stop them. Due to the fact that the Flag Smashers are not trained and don't properly know their own strength, in an attempt to simply stop the guard, one of the Flag Smashers accidentally kills the guard. They try to help him to no avail, but given the dire need to get the supplies, they have to leave the crime scene. Basic stuff. But what the show did is in no way sympathetic. Killing innocent people to send a political message is the exact textbook definition of terrorism. The second argument would be that he is retreating. The issue again is that he's not immediately submitting to capture. This man was trying to get away and would regroup with the Flag Smashers to commit more terrorist attacks down the line. If John had not done this, everybody would have had to deal with one more super soldier in New York City. This man was fighting almost till the very end. The third argument is that this guy was unarmed. This is true, but he is a super soldier, meaning that he himself is the weapon. He can do serious damage with just his hands, meaning he is always a threat. But also, John doesn't have the materials to capture him. The only thing he can do is just hold him here until more people come, and this is plenty of time for the Flag Smasher himself to concoct his own plan to escape or hurt John, as he is also a super soldier. The fourth argument would be some form of that the man was not innocent, but killing him was wrong. Again, this is not an issue. Later on, Sharon kills the Flag Smasher who's not even engaged in active combat with chemical weapons, and literally no one cares. Sam and Bucky don't bring it up later on. So, killing this guy didn't even seem to matter. The fifth argument is that he has no jurisdiction. This incident takes place in Latvia. Latvia, by the way, is a NATO country. Maybe Latvia in the meantime have developed their own special forces unit capable of taking out super soldiers. However, this option seems unlikely, given the fact I am sure they are more than glad to have someone who is a super soldier hunting down super soldier terrorists. And did Steve not make this point that if in certain cases he did not have proper jurisdiction, if he felt it was the proper thing to do, he would still step in and help, even if it was against the democracies of the world? When Steve does it, good. When John does it, fuck him. The sixth argument is that it's okay for Walker to have killed this man, however, Captain America himself would not do this. This to me is the most interesting argument because it has forced people to take a look back and study Captain America closer and the action Steve takes in combat situations. Not only are there times where Captain America straight up kills people who have little or no chance to surrender, in Avengers Endgame when Thanos is apprehended, Thor in a fit of rage kills Thanos for what he did. In this case, Captain America neither says nor does anything. Obviously, the magnitude of atrocities that the two individuals committed is far apart. But the underlying principle of objecting to such an action should apply based off the counter-argument. This is not to say that this was the optimal decision. There were better ways to handle this. Is it, however, a decision worthy of the consequences that fell on John Walker, and how his supposed allies reacted? No, not even close. If the goal is to portray how John lacks certain important traits to be Captain America, an obvious one would be if John could ever go against the orders given to him by his superiors, as this is something that Steve has done. Could John break away from the command structure when he feels the mission or the objective is wrong? By using this as justification, or rather the illustration of John's character to disqualify him as Captain America, is not it. It doesn't make me dislike John in any way. To me, it signals somebody who's willing to take out the threat. It seems like the media-literate crowd took the blood on the shield and the ominous music and said, well, clearly he's bad. See, that's what the show's trying to tell you. What's even more crazy is what happens after this. John is devastated. He not only lost his best friend, his actions are now circulated and are being condemned on the internet. He's at his low point. So the natural thing for Sam and Bucky to do is to exploit the moment to demand the shield back. They don't even care about Lamar or helping out their brother in arms. John recognizes what's going on, refuses to give the shield up because he himself has not done anything wrong in his eyes, so for this Sam and Bucky attack him, break his arm, and steal the shield. What the fuck? Some have attempted to make the argument that Sam and Bucky are reasonable here and are only doing this because of what Walker did in the previous episode. This is not true. The show at one point had Bucky suggest that they just beat him up and take the shield. And then they do exactly that. They ask him once, he refuses, and then they proceed to beat the shit out of him. No concern for his mental state, no concern or acknowledgement that a fellow brother in arms just died on their mission. Just give us the shield or we will beat the shit out of you.
Let's take the shield, Sam. Let's take the shield and do this ourselves.
We can't just run up on a man, beat him up, and take it.
You don't want to do this.
Yeah, we do.
I would like to point out that for a while John was winning against both of them, showing what an absolute beast he is. And after Sam and Bucky steal the shield, they just leave him there. But wait, there's more. After losing the shield and the title, John is then discharged dishonorably from the military, meaning he no longer even gets retirement. What? I have heard many arguments that the show is not hating John. They are in fact creating a morally gray character. The issue with this is that the show never really presents it this way. Within the show, it's seen as a terrible action. There is no debate, no back and forth. Everybody in all institutions just see his actions as bad. And the show never really presents the case for John. It only condemns him for it. But when watching the show, it rings hollow because you yourself have seen the full context and know John was justified in his action. At this point, most men would break, stripped of everything you have worked so hard for, seeing your dreams and hopes crumble before you while nobody has your back, with the people you looked up to and extended a hand of cooperation stabbing you in the back. It's here that villains are made. But not John Walker. He comes back to stop the Flag Smashers again. He creates his own shield to which he pins his medals of honor to remind him of who he is and what he's fighting for. The Flag Smashers set up a plan to kill the world leaders in charge of the GRC, elected representatives from around the world. In this battle, John is faced with the dilemma, either pursue Carly for revenge or save the innocent. John chooses to do the right thing. His decision to take the serum is vindicated, as without it, all these people would have been dead, and Sam couldn't make his stupid speech at the end. Even as he tries to save these people, the Flag Smashers attack him. Without John here, these people would have been dead. And after all this, John just walks away. No fancy speech, no pomp or circumstance. He just leaves everything behind, giving up the shield and the title. Now compare this to what Sam has done throughout the entire show. Not only does he give up the shield because he himself is not ready, when Walker gets it, he now starts to want it back, and is essentially biding his time till the perfect moment. While doing so, he also takes this terrorist side in effect.
You have to stop calling them terrorists.
I have seen people's attempt to explain this speech by stating that Falcon does not side with the terrorists. He's making the point that the politicians are using the label terrorist to dismiss the complaint, and avoid taking action to resolve the problem by dismissing Carly. I could buy this explanation if I had just ignored all of what Sam has done and said throughout the show and in the finale. From start to finish, Sam Wilson engages in constant apologia for the Flag Smashers. Even after they've killed innocent people, Sam continues to defend them with the lightest criticism.
What?
Carly bombed a GRC supply depot.
What? What's the damage?
11 injured, 3 dead. They have a list of demands and are promising more attacks if those demands aren't met in full.
She's getting worse. She's just a kid.
His first defense is that she's a kid. Carly is 19 years old in the show. In the United States, you are considered an adult and would be tried as such. You can join the military and vote. This is a poor excuse. Will the victims' families be okay with this light approach? Because the person who roasted their family members is young, so we have to take her lightly? At what age would Sam take her seriously? If the bombs went off and his family was caught in the vicinity, would he still be running apologist talking points that Carly was simply a child? When Bucky directly asks if her end justify her means, he responds that she's different and not motivated by the same things. But you would think that regardless of her motivation, killing innocent people would inspire some level of anger. His chief issue being that he quote-unquote disagrees with her methods. Now the chief question is, to what degree does Sam disagree? Have the Flag Smashers' methods reached a point that, regardless of their broader intentions, they need to be stopped, which could include killing them? Or is the disagreement relatively small that could be hashed out with a conversation? For Sam, it's the latter. Sam will exchange punches, but when it comes to Carly Morgenthau, all he can do is beg and plead. In one of the earlier confrontations, he insists that simply speaking to Carly will be enough. Either way, none of it matters because Carly is not going to come in. I would think that after Sam figures out just how far she's gone, he would change his attitude, but he doesn't.
Are you going to increase your army? You're killing innocent people.
They're not innocent. They're roadblocks in my journey and I'd kill them again if I had to.
Wow.
Surely after hearing this, he would understand what needs to be done, but no. And it's seen as a shock when John comes in to arrest her, but she obviously escapes and can cause further damage because of Sam's delusions. If they just did everything to capture her in the vulnerable moment, most likely further harm could have been prevented. When Sam ends up facing off against her again, it's the same thing again. Instead of fighting to take her out, he again just starts begging and trying to convince her. Sam, because of your weak approach, Carly has been able to attack the world leaders on US soil. It is because of your lack of seriousness that she has been able to plan and execute more attacks. There is no virtue to try to negotiate with her when it's clear that she will not willfully walk into a jail cell. It gets even worse when Carly is beating him. He states that he's not going to fight her. At this point, Carly has stolen supplies, blown up innocent people, killed a member of the United States military who is on the same mission as Sam, set up a plan to execute and kill world leaders, and grievously wounded his friend, and yet he's not going to fight her. Fuck you, dude. Even when she's about to kill him, Sam just stands there. He's simply unwilling to harm Carly because he agrees with her. Even after she dies, the show presents it as a great tragedy. All of this further reinforces the point that Sam for the large part agrees with her and only has criticisms of her methods, which don't even matter if you're not willing to respond with the appropriate force to neutralize the threat. People point to the fact that the Flag Smashers are struggling, that many refugees need help, and so making whatever decision Carly wants will help people. But the senator proposes a question. A person comes back after 5 years to find people living in his home. Who gets the house? There is no clean decision. Either way, somebody will be screwed over.
And the people who reappeared only to find someone else living in their family home, they just end up homeless? Look, I get it, but you have no idea how complicated this situation is.
You know what? You're right. And that's a good thing. You've got to do better, Senator. You've got to step up.
Somebody will need shelter. Whoever you favor in this decision, the other party will hate you and could rise up against you, just like the Flag Smashers. All the supplies and the things the Flag Smashers steal are ostensibly going to someone else who needs them. And any inefficiency of redistributing resources is to be expected when dealing with such a large bureaucracy like the GRC. Based on the premise of the show, whichever direction you decide, people will be screwed over and could rise up against you. When confronting Carly, she says that the genesis of her anger was being kicked to the street.
They started a war as soon as they kicked us out of our new homes and onto the street. People all around the world need me, millions of them.
But if the policy was reversed and the people who came back were kicked to the street, then ostensibly it would be that group of people who decided to rise up against you. At the end, the senators decide on a different direction. However, just because the show does not have the courage to show the negative externalities of their new decision does not mean that they do not exist based off the show's premise and the logical conclusion. Coming back to the shield and title, this is another egregious decision the writers make. I mean, they really do Sam dirty here. Historically, in the MCU, there are continuing themes that it's not actually the powers or the equipment that make you the hero. Otherwise, the hero would just be getting the gear or randomly being in the right place to get the right powers. That it's actually about the individuals and who they are. In this show, however, the obsession over the shield and title is severe. The moment Walker gets the shield, Bucky is looking for opportunities to get it back. In fact, before anything happens, Bucky states that he is going to take it back. Understand that regardless of John's actions, this was always the plan.
World's upside down, we need a new cap, and it ain't gonna be Walker, so before you go and destroy it, I'm gonna take it from him myself.
And when they find Walker at his lowest point, they beat the shit out of him and steal it. This is disgusting. Given that Walker is discharged, you could just wait for the military tribunal where he's stripped of everything anyway. In this moment, Sam and Bucky don't really console their brother-in-arms. That's not their intention here. Lamar's death doesn't even seem to matter as it's glossed over very quickly. The main objective here was the shield and the title. Even though throughout Steve Rogers' story it's shown that the shield and title don't matter. Honestly, if for whatever reason Steve was stripped of the shield and it was given to someone else, do we think he would just wait for the person to make a mistake so he could beat the shit out of him to take it back? No. This is not Captain America. The shield, the flashy costume, the sanctimonious speech, it all just falls flat here. Think about it this way. When did Sam fight the hardest? When did he have the most animosity? It wasn't fighting against the Flag Smashers or Carly when she killed innocent people and a member of the US military. It was when he was fighting John for the shield. That was the fight he cared about. He spent more time trying to convince Karli to surrender rather than convincing John to give up the shield. Him and Bucky just decided to attack him after exchanging 2 lines. They tell him to give back the shield, John recognizes what they're trying to do, says they don't have to do it, and then they attack him. They're the ones who initiated the confrontation, they're the ones who made the situation violent. Before this, John told them to seek medical treatment and was walking away. And after all this, I'm supposed to think Sam deserves the shield? I've seen people's attempt to reframe the scene as Sam and Bucky being reasonable ones trying to negotiate while John is the unhinged one. Pay attention to what they say here.
Saw what happened. You know what I had to do. I killed him because I had to. He killed Lamar!
He didn't kill Lamar, John.
Yes, he is very much responsible for Lamar's death. He was part of the assassination attempt of John, which directly led to Lamar's death when Lamar tried to stop it. It's called being culpable. For example, oftentimes militaries or governments will seek out the masterminds behind terrorist attacks and kill them. The individual behind the plan may not have even directly killed anybody, but there is understanding that said individual is still responsible for the lives lost. By being involved in the John Walker assassination attempt, the Flag Smashers are responsible for Lamar's death. They blame him for killing the guy and are upset. Later, not only does Sharon kill a Flag Smasher who's not engaged in combat and fleeing the scene, she deploys chemical weapons on US soil, a literal fucking war crime. And what is Sam and Bucky's reaction to this? Nothing. Now, not only does Sam not have an issue with this, based on previous conversation, we know that most likely he vouches for Sharon to obtain her pardon. What? This was not some principled stance that these two held. They wanted the title and found the opportunity to do so and exploited it, because when someone else they knew did a similar action, they couldn't give less of a fuck. It was always about the shield and title. But at the end of the show, there is one character who moves past the shield and title, a character who doesn't get any praise for doing the right thing, a man who casts aside revenge to save the innocent. It's John Walker. To be fair, John is a dick to certain people throughout the show, but in such cases, he usually recomposes himself fairly quickly. His most egregious scene would be when he challenges Falcon to a fight, ostensibly just to assert his dominance, which is a douchebag move. However, given how much of a douchebag Falcon has been to John throughout the show thus far and what he does later, I'm not too upset about it. Going through all the counter-arguments, I found it difficult to really understand the opposing perspective. I soon started to get suspicious that the hatred and praise for certain characters had less to do with the characters' actions and more to do with the political aesthetics of those involved. And this suspicion was confirmed to me upon seeing Just Right's video. Just Right equates John Walker's character for a stand-in for American imperialism. He then goes on to recap historical events and the negatives of US foreign policy post-World War II, highlighting the number of foreign military bases the United States possesses.
Rather than trying to control them outright or annexing them, America began maintaining a network of military bases across the globe, which is why Immervar has described America as a pointillist empire.
And then ties this point to when John questions the Dora Milaje's jurisdiction. All the while, the negatives of the United States are tied to John.
But John Walker's entire conception as a character. His purpose in the story is to make Sam and the audience question what they believe the symbol of Captain America, and by extension America in general, are supposed to stand for. John Walker is a mockery of this, someone who looks the part but is driven by ego and the desire to dominate more than by the desire to protect. He's short-tempered, self-righteous, and needlessly violent. His presence in the story asks the audience to reflect on America's place on the world stage.
And this is what so much of the animosity towards John and empathy towards terrorists stem from, that it's not really about the characters' decisions, but rather their political aesthetic and what they represent, indicating who is loved and who is hated. John is meant to represent the evil imperialist America. And because of this, all the actions John takes are filtered through this lens, reframing many of the scenes while simultaneously leaving out any conflicting information. Show John pushing a guy for spitting on him, but don't show the moment where he wipes off the spit and walks away. Show John killing the Flag Smasher, but conveniently forget to mention that the ambush was an assassination attempt meant to kill John. Don't show what Sharon did and the ambivalence of Sam and Bucky afterwards. Show John losing to the Dora Milaje, but don't show his previous attempt to de-escalate. And when the redemption moment happens, the question is not whether John would do this based off previous information we have of him as a character. It instead is meddling by the Pentagon, because it's impossible to redeem the stand-in for American imperialism, regardless of what we see in the plot.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier begins with a scene heavily featuring the American military, it's likely the scripts passed through the lens of the Pentagon. I can't say that for certain, as I don't have a primary source for that at the moment, but given what I know about how these things work, I can say that it's likely the case. Perhaps it's also the reason behind John Walker's extremely rushed redemption arc that has him quipping with the heroes not 2 episodes after the murders a guy in the street while the world watches scene. I'd be extremely curious to know whether his arc was in any way shaped by the Pentagon, or if his arc is meant as a critique of the Pentagon. The fact that he faces minimal consequences for murdering someone in another country.
The Flag Smashers are the borderless refugees. They have refugee vibes. They're poor, hungry, and wearing rags, cast aside by the global order. This is why the harm and people she kills are kind of just glossed over, and at the end of the show, they give her this send-off. And Sam is a man pushed aside by a system that he helped and contributed to. Even after saving the world, he's pushed aside for those who don't deserve it. And in this struggle, him and the Flag Smashers are the same. Thus their connection and Sam's attitude towards them.
The people I'm fighting are trying to take your home, Sam. Why are you here instead of stopping them?
And my sister's waiting for that exact same answer. I'm not your enemy. I agree with your fight. I just can't get with the way you're fighting it.
And the best demonstration of this is the reaction to the Dormelage attempting to kill John Walker for no reason. The moment he enters the room, they throw a vibranium spear at his head. They were the ones who instigated the situation for absolutely no reason. And then, later on, when he's on the ground, they go to hurt him again. Yet many people just take the Dormelage's side, even when John did nothing wrong, because it's not actually about John's actions here or the Dormelage. It's about the aesthetic. And because of this, it really doesn't matter what the Dormelage do against John, broadly speaking. John tries to de-escalate the situation even after they try to kill him, but because in a friendly gesture he touched their shoulder, they can now kill him. I've seen people say that this is against their customs to do this, but how the fuck is anybody supposed to know the customs of an isolationist nation? Hello? And it does not even matter because they're not in Wakanda, they're in Latvia. What type of entitled fucking asshole do you have to be to act this way? But I don't think this crowd will ever really criticize Wakanda. Ask yourself why people would still be against John in this situation. It's not about actions, it's about aesthetics. Later on in the Thunderbolts, John is routinely made fun of and humiliated again. For one, Ghost states that he killed an innocent man. And when John says define innocent, all she can do is scoff. Which is odd given what her character did in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but it seems like the film forgot. But for Walker, his humiliation doesn't stop there. When he enters the Void, he's forced to confront his most recent transgression, him being a failure as a husband and a father. And it's shown to us because he's looking at his phone with the baby right next to him in the crib. Like, I'm sorry, is this really an illustration of him being a terrible father? The kid is right there in his peripheral vision. But I guess reading an article is just inexcusable? And later on, we find out that his wife left him and took the kid. This man is constantly kicked down in the MCU. No one has his back, and the writers never honestly present the case for him. He's now suicidal because of this. In Thunderbolts, many of his plans end up being correct. He's more than a competent fighter, and some of his feats throughout the movie are genuinely impressive. But yet, the MCU still shits on him. Later on, Yelena says that not only does John know he's a piece of trash, but so does his family. And the question must be asked, how? What has Walker done? Killing this guy? Being on his phone with his kid 2 feet away from him? Choosing to work for the CIA after he was discharged from the military? All of this has made John Walker into an incredibly empathetic character. The feeling as if the whole world is against you. The feeling that even if you slip up once, the consequences will be dire, and for others it won't. The idea that an opportunity can slip you by. Seeing a character go through this and still choose to do the right thing time and time again is inspiring. No one appreciates him, and people often make fun of him. But Walker himself is competent. He's an experienced soldier who has only ever tried to do the right thing, not only saving those in need, but willing to take out those who would seek to harm the innocent. Steve Rogers is gone. A perfect man like him will be near impossible to find. But as of right now, the way his replacement is written leaves a lot to be desired. Cast aside the shield, the fancy costume, the pompous nature, and the sanctimonious speeches. One man has moved past all that. Out of all the characters post-Endgame Marvel has introduced, I couldn't care for most of them, but the one character I am interested in is John Walker. At the end of this video, I actually found a funny edit comparing Steve Rogers introducing himself to how John Walker introduces himself, and based off the way John Walker introduces himself, it's clear that he isn't supposed to be Captain America.
John Walker, Captain America!
Captain America. I am Captain America.
I am Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers.
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
But you know the funny thing? How does Sam introduce himself?
I'm sorry, wait, who are you? Captain America.